Welcome back, my fellow strugglers, to another episode of Dudes Talking Manga. Today, we're going to be going over Volume 23 of Berserk. We are first-time Berserk readers. We're kind of new to manga at this point. I think we both have dabbled in 2 or 3 now at this stage in our manga careers, but we're having an absolute blast, and I am joined always by my co-host, Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. Doing good. You?
I'm all right. This is the fun part of my week.
That's fair. Same. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I feel like we're in a good rhythm now, going every 2 weeks and bumping it down to the volume, which we said last time we were more than happy to do.
Oh, yeah.
And it almost feels like you're getting a little bit more of the original intent from Miura because, people read these in releases, right? In volumes. And that's how we're doing it now, but we don't have to wait nearly as long, which is great.
Yeah, I don't know how people did that. I mean, that's like when I can't watch a show live. I can never do it. I can't read a book. I mean, it's so hard for me, even new releases. Like the new Gwen book coming out, and I'm like, was chomping at the bit to read it. Anything that's current, I want to read it fast.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. It depends on the show, with theorizing and stuff, but also with Berserk, it's so dense and not in a bad way, but in a good way. And there's so much to dive into that, like, this is one I don't want to binge, right?
No,
to make it last.
Yeah, I like to look at each of the panels too and just like assess the stuff, see things you don't see. I mean, I'll get like a quick reread, a skim reread, and I'll even pick up stuff in the pictures that I didn't see before. 100%. So fun.
Yeah. Jason says he's watching us at 2 a.m. We appreciate that, man.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Dedication, and Ryan's listening in the background of work. We're always happy to
to
go live and to do this. So if this is your first time checking this out, me and Andrew have been covering Berserk for a while now. And the playlist for all the before the videos prior to this are actually in the description. I'll probably pin it to comment down below. So if you want to see more of the Berserk content here at the Fantasy Network, you can check that out down below. And as always, we encourage you to hit like and subscribe. It does help the community and helps get these videos out to more people. And we just like talking Berserk and eventually some more manga in general. So with all that out of the way, what did you think of Volume 23,
dude? I mean, I love it as always. I mean, I don't want to skip ahead too, but I do like the fact that we have to endure the cliffhanger right now. You know what I mean? Like we have to. We're there with it. We're taking it. Taking it as it comes. And I really enjoyed this. I love the build up. I'm super excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. Hello, Mama Nuts.
What about you?
Yeah, I absolutely love this volume. So I remember, last 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Volume 22, and I was giving it very high praise, saying it was one of my favorite volumes. I don't think this is my favorite volume, but I think it is. It's so important.
Yes.
We see, I don't know if I want to call it character development. We see developments within Guts, maybe even a regression in some ways, and a new conflict arising in Guts, or maybe a new face on an old conflict per se. And then I think in the thumbnail, I chose Destiny versus Agency because I think that we have one of the most on the nose parallels drawn in this volume, and that is the fact that Lord Mule, who's a new character, and Farnese are both kind of on the opposite sides, where Farnese is embracing agency in the struggle in the unknown, whereas Mule is kind of falling under the guise that we saw everyone else fall into earlier in the eclipse, which is destiny. And that almost like that feeling of being in the right place at the right time with the right person, and there's energy and people riding that out. So I think Destiny versus Agency is like on full display here, and it's really interesting to see it through newer characters. Farnese's been around, but like we're still kind of at the beginning of her journey.
Yeah, she cut her hair. She's different now.
She got the Karen bob. She went full Karen.
Well, she kind of lost the Karen-esque personality. I feel it's almost like swatched it.
I mean, she has to be one of the most conflicting characters, knowing the things that she's done in the past, and we get to see her come face to face with Casca kind of again in an apology format this time. So that was really interesting. But I love this volume. I thought it was very important for Guts as a character, but also begins to flesh out even more of our side characters while still introducing more people to the cast.
Right.
But Miura does it in such a natural way where I don't feel overwhelmed. I've recently just started Attack on Titan. I bought the first Colossal just like you did, and I finished the first Colossal edition, which maybe I'll make a video on here on the channel at some point. But and I think we're going to do a reread. It will be a reread for us at that point. We'll probably do a similar kind of series for Attack on Titan. But Attack on Titan has a very large cast. But I felt like things were kind of just being thrown at me, which is cool. I like being thrown in the deep end too. But Miura has expanded the cast in such a very flowy and natural way. I've never really felt overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, I've never had anything that is like more natural flowing like that because I mean you almost feel like you meet them in person at a good pace. So then they stick with you more. I
Yeah,
feel
absolutely.
it's way more natural. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and I like that not all of the main themes are only being explored through like one or two characters, right? Like it's
Mhm.
actually transcending kind of like not generations, but different arcs throughout the story. So that's really cool, and it gives a lot more importance to our side characters that we know and love. Rip Judo.
Rip, homie. I was gonna pour one out, but I realized it'd be all over my keyboard. So
yeah, don't do that. Jason said, not wanting to bug you, but is Vinland review coming back? Yes, we are also going to do Vinland. We just wanted to kind of do these one at a time to give enough, actual attention to these. And, primarily I do books here. So I didn't want to create 90% manga content, which does get tempting, to be honest. But I wanted to make sure that I was doing a good balance. But Vinland is going to be coming back as well as trying out Attack on Titan and all those things. So this is going to be like a long going series. That's why I'm encouraging people, like if you have friends that are into manga, invite them over, come out, check out Dudes Talking Manga, because we're going to be here for a while doing this for, I think, years, unless one of us, gets eclipsed.
quit struggling.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Maybe I'll just stop struggling tomorrow. You never know. But speaking of Attack on Titan, and I'm not trying to slander Attack on Titan at all here, but I'm reading it and it has a lot of strengths. There's some things about it that I absolutely love. But one thing I immediately noticed, man, is that me and you started out with the GOAT when it comes to some of the best art, I think.
Yeah. I just leafed through it because I was getting ready to start it last night, and I don't know. I just was all over the place. So I couldn't really concentrate on reading it. I just got done with the Berserk and I was like, that's enough for tonight. But I'm with you. I wouldn't want to say it's bad art. It's just different. It's not quite as complex. It doesn't look like fine art. It doesn't have all the lines. It doesn't have all the details. It's just different. I mean,
and it's also his first stuff, right? Because if you go back and look at Berserk 1, like Miura has grown. So again, I'm not saying Attack on Titan sucks or anything. I actually am really, really enjoying it for different reasons than Berserk, which we can get into one day. But absolutely,
I'm gonna crack into it here this afternoon. So
I'm just going back to Berserk after it. I'm just so impressed with Miura's art. I mean, I'm just, oh my goodness. And I don't want to throw around terms like greatest of all time or anything, because me and you don't have enough experience in this format. But I have to imagine that this is some of the best.
I don't know how you can get much better for manga. I mean, honestly, what more do you want?
Yeah, I just love the style of it as well. So
I do too. Yeah, and then for me too, just seeing some of the when it's a dark panel, it is a dark panel. I mean, it's you just know something bad's gonna happen, and that's just with the background. I mean, that's insane. I mean, he changed with the fonts, with the background, with just so many. I mean, layers. I say it all the time: layers, layers, layers on the story, on the pictures, on the art, on the small details. I mean,
it's awesome. I mean, I absolutely love it, dude. I think it's masterful. And even in this volume, there's a 2-page panel, in the deluxe edition of Griffith, and I could just like feel the majesticness, if that's a word, like coming out of the page. And I'm just like, man, it takes a special artist to get that, and not to mention all the character development that's happened to this point. So he's also just a phenomenal storyteller.
Well, what for me too is there's no colors; it's all shade.
Dude, I told my wife this the other day. I said, I always said, "Oh, manga, it's black and white," and I know people are just like shaking their heads at us right now, but we're newbies. Dude, I prefer black and white now.
It's a whole nother. I mean, it's almost like looking at like a black and gray tattoo.
I love it.
I mean, just the complexity. Oh man, it's just powerful stuff, man. It really is. It's impressive.
It really is. Turtle asked if we'll ever do Vagabond. Yes, we actually
I got it. I bought one. It's sitting on the shelf. I have this problem where I just love looking at them on the shelf too. So like if I see one, it's on the end cap somewhere, I'm like, we'll snag this. Even I bought the first Chainsaw Man too. I mean, I got a couple of them. We're ready. We ready. We out here. But
bruh, it's just black and white. Yeah. I love it. It's great, right?
Happy Except Sunday. For it feels so gray sometimes. Just so I mean I'm just very happy to be in Berserk, man. It's great. Now I wonder too, I mean, obviously this is just my ignorance, but like, is it more so that it is a different category? Like how you have like the grimdark for in fantasy. Are there different arts? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think
like
so.
is it? I think it's categorized as like dark, and I probably need to research this before I start popping off about it. But I think that we're going to see that as our journey goes, because even Vinland is different. It's more comic booky for me. It's still great art, but it's not quite as dark. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see as we go.
I mean, also tone's a real thing, and I think it was Trill and Nathan in the chat was talking about shading and stuff like that. All that stuff matters, which is why it's just like such a ridiculously amazing medium to choose to tell your story, and also probably the biggest challenge.
Sure, yeah, it would have to be.
So, yeah, Vagabond. I've heard the art is phenomenal, and I really like the Vinland Saga art as well.
I do. It is different too. I like to enjoy the different stuff. I mean.
Yeah, it's just like reading. I mean, you know, I have a very big palette when it comes to, you know, different things that I enjoy in prose or even the way people tell stories. So,
yeah.
But I guess we should dive in to volume 23 with that little introduction. And I did. I really enjoyed this. I like at the beginning, they're going to Elfhelm, and you know, we're going to Puck's homeland. Sorry, I just blanked on the word homeland. And I just love how like lovely it sounds in this big description, and Guts goes, sounds terrible.
There's a lot of that in this issue too, I think.
Yeah, just like the nonchalant,
like
yeah, doesn't sound good at all. It's like me, you know, whenever I'm kind of getting coaxed to do like family pictures or something. Like, it's gonna be so good. We're gonna have a big field in the background. I'm like, sounds awful.
Just, you know, matter of fact, that doesn't sound good at all. I don't want to do that. You gotta respect that, though. Know what you want.
Dude, what did you make of that, like that demon fox that turned into more of like a demon hound?
Bro, what? I mean, I don't know. It kind of reminded me of Zoids for some reason. Like that. You remember? Yeah, I don't know why. That's where I went. But I just think because I had such a, you know, that was such an impactful. That's what I think of anytime I see some type of fox. But yeah, that was I don't know. That was pretty dark.
Yeah, it was interesting because, you know, he's trying to coax Guts into going back to Griffith's realm, right, or around him. It says Casca is just the mark left behind by Griffith, and that she's a shell of who she was. Getting rid of her would bring him closer to Griffith. And all I can think of is like, please don't, please don't do it, Guts. I'm begging you.
That's why I was asking how, like, if you had started yet, because it's like, oh man, no, we're having some nice times here, at least not horrible times here.
Yeah, and you know, it said you desire this. That's what I kept saying.
Yeah.
You desire this, and then we seem like demons kind of possess Guts, and he ends up strangling Casca. And now she's just absolutely terrified of him, which is heart wrenching, and I don't want it.
No.
I never wanted this to happen.
We see a glimmer. Like, we're like, she's back. She's got the sword. Like, she's, you know, she just marks those guys after she was like stealing their food, which I don't know. I think it's so funny when people eat in manga. Like, it's like, yum, 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 yum. Like, I just always find that funny. But for her to just, you see it, you see hope, and then it's just immediately throttled away. And you're like, oh, no.
Yeah, it was nice while it almost lasted, right?
For like 3 pages.
Yeah, and then he has to bound her,
Yeah.
which is just crappy, right? It doesn't feel good. And he speaks of the weight of having to survive so that she can as well.
Yeah.
And has he ever wielded a sword so heavy? What a good quote.
Yeah, really.
What a good quote. And I don't know about you, but every time Guts gets like enraged or possessed by a demon, doesn't he kind of look like Zod to you? I don't know why I always make that connection.
I mean, I get some of that. Yeah, because he gets that, like his teeth come out. Yeah. I don't know if that is showing like that being the I mean, I put it like devil dog. Like, is that his berserk? Is that what drives him to when he's fighting?
Yeah.
And then he has to keep it contained, but he's beat down, he's tired, so it comes out.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it does seem like whenever he's getting worn down is whenever he's the most vulnerable, which would make sense, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We actually have someone in the chat saying closer as into killing him, not the friendly sense. Interesting. See, I didn't take it like that, but
no, I didn't either.
I'm probably wrong, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, Guts' mental state is not suited for traveling to Casca alone, which we end up, you know, I mean, that's a lot of responsibility, fighting demons all night. But we end up getting a little bit of a solution to that problem a little bit later on, which we'll talk about, which I think is like the best part of the entire volume, in my opinion. Jason South says, interesting parallel with the last time Guts strangled Casca, which is an interesting statement. Casca accepted him. Now she is terrified. Yeah, and he ends up bounding her, but Casca gets away. And it's almost
I got ahead of it. I just realized I got ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine, dude.
Yeah.
You're totally fine. So she gets assaulted by the thieves, right? And Guts wanders after her, thinking how he was naive to believe that it would be okay after he left her alone in the darkness for so long.
Yeah.
Which shows that he is he's self-aware. He's not just an asshole, which he might seem externally to everyone else, but we get the benefit of seeing it from his perspective and in his head. Casca killing the thieves was sick, dude.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I got ahead, but I was hyped.
Yeah, and then there's these really uncomfortable panels where we see the blood. Guts comes up and sees her holding the sword, and there's blood in certain areas. That's really, I'm just like, wow, no. You could tell something's about to happen.
Mm-hmm. You can see it in his eyes. Yeah, he's letting the dog out. I mean,
well, and then Casca attacks him, so he has to defend, and then he ends up kind of forcing himself. And by kind of, I mean he does. Yeah. Onto her in a panel of the demon dog saying, "Rip her to shreds the way Griffith did." It was disturbing. Dude.
Very, yeah. I mean, even just hearing it again, just that pit. Yeah.
Somehow that was almost as disturbing as like the eclipse. Like,
bro, I made that parallel. Yeah, we made it, but then it made us see it again in another way. And you're like, oh man, we were gonna have something nice again, and it's gone. Woof.
You must lose everything. Make everything food for your malice.
Dude. Wow. I mean, yeah.
Hearing those words again hurts the soul. Absolutely, it does. I mean, it
does.
Yeah, that was a really tough section to get through, and like it makes me mad at Guts, but like we're also getting the benefit of the perspective that he's struggling with this, and he kind of acknowledges it. And he bit her. He shows the teeth mark on her chest, and I'm just disappointed in him, but also confused.
Yeah, I think he's disappointed in himself and also confused. But
the Beast of Darkness telling Guts to kill Casca shows that Guts in a rage might just be this biggest opponent even more than Griffith. Very interesting.
Yeah.
That scene is definitely one of the hardest ones so far in the series for me, which is interesting because it doesn't span that long of a time.
Yeah. Well, I see the two. I mean, it's kind of funny that we said last time one of my favorite panels was Guts with his cloak around Casca, and this time I feel like it was drawn the same way. Now he's having to lead her as a prisoner too. So that was, we're making progress, and then it's just that was pretty heart-wrenching for me as well, because you see them growing together, him being able to be with her and like, hey, you know what, maybe it's not going to be so bad. They're going to go to Puck's house, it's going to be all good, and now she's basically a prisoner against her will. But I mean, how much do we know? Is she in her right mind still? So
yeah, and Casca continues to be a big question mark.
We see glimmers. Was she good? Was she bad? So
well, and also like Guts is clearly in love with Casca, right? And he sees the Casca Volt for a second holding the sword. I mean,
she's back, man.
Yeah, so it's like a callback, like, oh, like thinking that everything might be okay. I don't know. It's a really tough thing.
It really is.
And Guts is under an immense amount of stress, so staying up all night fighting demons, having
it's double the amount of demons too, because
the brands.
That's 2 brands. That's twice the amount of demons. So, I mean, that's kind of what I asked myself too at the beginning. I'm like, why is he so much more tired? I'm like, oh yeah, because there's double the amount. So, and he doesn't have any help at all.
Yeah,
and he's having to protect Casca as well on top of that. So that's
yeah, and it's okay to be disappointed, right? But fair. But I mean, for some reason, this is like one of the toughest ones to get through. But still done with immense care and those layers that you always talk about. So we get some much needed humor after this, though, because we get EC Bro back in the game, baby. He shows up with the stolen luggage from Farnese and Serpico, and I was happy to see him. But Farnese, what about Farnese bending the knee to Guts,
dude? I kind of thought that they might try to like have a little scuffle first. I didn't think it would be. I know she's like trying to follow him and whatever, but I still thought, I don't know. For me, I thought they were going to fight.
I don't know why, but I also kind of laugh when Farnese's like, Serpico, get down. And it's just like Serpico is literally willing to do whatever for Farnese and keep her close. And we saw their backstory, which is one of the best parts of Berserk so far for me.
Yeah.
But it's like the first time we see Guts, and Guts, does the whole thing like, do what you want. You're not going to learn anything from me, kid.
Right.
He just
so awesome.
Edgelord Anonymous shit, but it's great and it works. And we see for the first time that Guts is giving up and letting strangers kind of help him, because even though he's putting on that front, we know he needs help. Like, this could not have came at a better time.
No.
And it's really,
and he's never been, he'll let somebody help, but never that easy too. So we get to see that, he's beat down.
He's beat down, and also he's terrified of himself.
Yeah.
He said his own sinister thoughts and behaviors are terrifying him. He almost wants people there to be able to hold him accountable, I think, or maybe even to put him down if he goes too far. He's losing it.
Sure.
Which I think is why, even though I'm disappointed with his actions, I think that there's clearly more going on, and he's saying, I need help. Yeah. And even though he's not externally saying it, we get the perspective. Sure. But he's terrified of himself, and he doesn't want to do these things.
Yeah.
So it's just like demons tempting him constantly. So I thought that was a really important moment to have, not just for the humor, but also for Farnese and Serpico coming with Isidro and Guts being like, oh, thank God they're here.
Yeah. Well, we see too that like Casca's really the only one that ever gets through to him emotionally, or makes him think twice about anything. Before he was just swinging a big old slab iron around in his own world. I guess Griffith too. Those are the only two that we've ever seen that can really get through to him on an emotional level. Yeah.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes, because there's also times in this volume where we'll actually see the ragtag crew of Guts getting along and actually working together as a unit. And you can see Guts kind of looking over at them.
Yeah.
And being like, you can tell there's like a little bit of pride there. Like, he's like, all right, like they're working.
He's building his crew. Yeah, his band.
That's right.
The Land of the Black Sword. And then I don't know, I just made that up. And then I loved too the parallels that were happening. We've had that as much, but not nearly like it is in this issue, I don't think.
Talking about the two bands, right?
Yeah. That's what I mean.
That's gonna be the big point, I think, that we can drive home at the end, because the whole point of this recap in this video and the thumbnail, everything, is the fact that we have agency versus destiny. And like I said, I love that it's actually on the nose here, but still in a different way than we've seen it before.
Yeah, it's on the nose, but it's not too. It's perfection.
Yeah. And we get to meet a new character, which is a big part of this, and that's Lord Mule, which is an interesting name. He's attacking that Kushin band army, and he realizes that the Kushin are using prisoners of war, his people, as soldiers. So he's essentially charging in and killing his own people. And they're like shooting arrows at them because they don't care. You know what I mean? Like, they're taking out their own people, which are the prisoners of war.
It makes sense why the Kushan's army is so big, though.
Oh, yeah.
They even go into that.
Not even reinforcements, really. They're just prisoners of war. It's crazy.
That is it's nuts.
I hate Griffith, okay? But he was pretty dope in this battle.
Dude, when you were saying earlier about how the light shine around him, you're like, you forget you hate him sometimes. Like, he's going to do something big, too, that we're going to hate him even more. I already know it. But, like, you forget. You just enjoy the ride, I think, with Griffiths on there.
Yeah, and then he makes that like flying motion through the break in the crowd, and he chops off the Kushin leader's head, and it's a sick battle. It's so dope.
It really is. Well, we see too, like, we're back into the Band of the Hawk of just pure annihilation anytime they're in battle. Even some of the wording, like, oh, they only have 200, we have 5,000 or however many thousands, and they're just beating us down. And I don't know. For me, I like that overpowered, just way OP fighting battle.
Well, when he's surrounded by just chads. Locust, the Moonlight Knight, Chad.
Bro, Peter Pan looking, shooting 4 arrows at once.
Yeah, is it Irvine? Is that the other person? Yeah, Irvine's the arrow.
Irvine. I got hyped, dude. I don't know why. When I saw him with that bow and arrow, I was like, let's go. Like, just getting hyped up, dude. He's got an eyeball on his bow. Like, bro.
Listen, I love archers. Okay, Legolas from Lord of the Rings. was very formative for me as a young fantasy fan. So anytime there's an archer, I'm pretty stoked to see it.
Yeah.
And then obviously Zod's like super Chad. So
always Zod didn't even seem to get into the battle though. I feel like he's just like
he's chilling, dude. He's done it all.
I mean, when you sit on 10,000 corpses you've made, you just
sometimes you just gotta take it easy.
What more is there for you?
What about the war demons? The war demons that are eating people, and you can see like the rib cages in the paint. All like,
yeah, there's. I mean, when I read this chapter or whatever it's called, War Demons, I'm like, oh god,
yeah,
this is gonna be something. This is gonna be a real treat.
Well, Griffith has all these warriors. He has these war demons, right? And then he also has Kushin that are fighting alongside him. So like, and Mule is having a big issue with that because obviously the Kushin have waged war on his people and pillaged his lands and all these other things. But Mule gets distracted by a girl named Sonya, who seems like almost like a cult leader. She's like, "Oh, hello, welcome to Griffith's village."
Dude, that's exactly the voice that I
don't drink the punch, bro.
Right?
Don't drink the punch.
Oh, dude. So at first, when those arrows came in, so I misinterpreted that as her like screwing up when I first read it. So I thought that Sonya was commanding the archers. They shot and almost hit Mule. But then I like on my reread, I look back and she telepathically says like, "Hey, watch out." And that's the first thing that we see of her.
Yes. Yeah. And Sonya is going to be interesting going forward. I feel we're going to need to keep tabs on her. And she has no fear of the war demons like trying to eat her or whatever. And Grunbelt steps up and kind of saves them. Or at least he thinks he did. And then he takes Mule and Sonya to Griffith, which Mule is already infatuated with Griffith whenever he sees him on the battlefield, right? So we know that this is going to be he's going to be adoring him, essentially. But man, what about the Dead Souls moment?
Bro. And okay, so real quick, on the war demons, I still, because they were talking about it, and then they just go, Mule starts asking questions like, what are they? Where do they come from? And Sonya's just like, you'll figure it out later. Like, I'm like, no, tell us now. Like, I want to know what's going on with this.
Well, and this is just speculation. Chat, don't let us know if we're wrong, please. I mean, could these dead souls, be being reanimated as war demons?
Bro, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that, and then I'm also thinking, because Griffith says they all go to make one or something along those lines. Like when they're all spinning around him, he's like, yeah, they come here, people get to visit with the souls before they leave, and then they go to one. So I'm thinking he's building like some, I don't know, some big ass creature or some army, which could be the war demons, but I'm thinking it's more so some big creature that's going to just lead the charge.
I mean, they were epic panels, and it's clear that this was supposed to be a major moment. Maybe we're wrong, but the Dead Souls revolving around Griffith is probably one of the coolest panels in all of Berserk so far for me.
So mesmerizing.
Yeah, really good. And we see them descend, and everyone's like, and it's like even in death, like Griffith is somehow spinning this positively for this, like not just soldiers, but it's also like a village of normal people. So you can see his kingdom forming. It's almost like a traveling kingdom. And I like what Hawk of Light said in chat. He said Miura is playing more by flipping Guts and Griffith, where Griffith is back to looking like a hero while Guts is sinking deeper into his darkness. And that's definitely happening, right?
100%.
Yeah. Really, really crazy. And to everyone,
kind of tricking us.
He sure is. I mean, I get captivated in some of these panels. And to everyone, he looks like a messenger from God, letting everyone good day, basically one day goodbye to their loved ones, right? He's letting them say goodbye, which everyone wants that opportunity, and then he like sends them off to what they think is heaven. And I think someone even says to heaven. He's like, don't worry about it.
Right? Well, dude, is it gonna be another eclipse or a god hand thing? Like that's
I'm sure.
Yeah, probably.
It's gonna be sad, whatever it is.
No big sad.
Well, then we see Griffith also Night Mule, which for Mule, he's happy, but for me as the reader, I have a sense of dread. Like, what is he going to take from you?
I'm curious to see like what Mule's story. We get a little glimmer, but I'm still, I don't know. I feel like there's more to him as well. I get the same vibes that he was Serpico. So
yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny, like Farnese, Serpy. They're calling each other.
Yeah, I mean, I
Berserk.
100%. I 100% think we'll get more from Mule, and I think it's a good addition to the cast.
No, I do too.
So we cut back and we have Guts in the band fighting off some demons. Farnese apologizes to Casca, which was a pretty cool moment. And they're warned of trolls along the mountain passes, which I'm hyped. I love trolls, dude.
I do too. I do too.
So the little picture of a troll like leading into the next volume that we'll be reading,
right?
I got pretty hyped for that.
Dude, did you get real scared when right before? Hopefully, I'm not getting ahead of ourselves. Like right before Farnese loses Casca, when she sticks her hand in to try to get a rabbit when she's trying to like make her worth.
Oh yeah. What happens there?
So I mean, nothing happens, but it just like was alluding that something bad was going to happen because they were out foraging, and she sees a rabbit go into like this little crevice, and then she's like, "Oh, let me grab that," and sticks her hand in there. I'm like, "Oh God, oh no, something bad's going to happen." And then, I mean, I guess something did bad happen that she lost Casca, but.
Yeah, I remember when I saw her sticking her hand, I was like, "Oh, a demon's gonna bite her hands off." Like, that's
or her arm's gonna get ripped off. She's gonna get ripped into there and killed, or something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah, but we're also getting some comments about the whole idea of the dead souls revolving around Griffith. That also returning to one could mean something you've already seen. And Trill Nathan says, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but Griffith answered, he says, to where they will become one, which I believe is supposed to remind you of the vortex of souls the Count and the Wild and Wild got dragged into. Yeah, it's obviously culminating to something.
Yeah.
And probably going to be able to manifest, possibly, who knows?
I do love too. Miura does the same thing, but it's different too. Like we have the
it's a wheel.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a wheel. Yeah, it continues to spin, right? I mean, we've already seen the 2 festivals.
Yeah.
So that's
vastly different, but the same. It's awesome.
Yeah. We talked about Griffith's kingdom kind of growing on the move, right? And then we hear from the local guy that I think was running boats or something, and he says, Midland's not going to exist here soon. Like the kingdom's going to be overran because of the Kushan Empire, and be careful of the trolls. And it's like, okay, like we can see the pathway that is kind of going in to Griffith having his own kingdom.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious, and some people are saying trolls in Berserk are disgusting. So good. I'm glad. I love trolls.
That's what they're supposed to be. I mean, you don't call people trolls for
nothing.
That's true.
So yeah, I do think the best part of this volume is the contrast between Griffith and Guts, and then this is kind of what I wanted to dive into because they both have different bands. They're both forming it, and Griffith does look like the superhero of the story right now to the common folk. He has an amazing group of legends and of warriors and followers, and this feeling of destiny, which would say no free will, most likely, right? Which Guts is a ragtag group of misfits doing their best and learning from one another and failing a lot. And this is super reflected through the idea that we have Farnese, who was a religious nut, essentially, right? Doing terrible things and believed that all this destiny and that everything was meant to happen for a reason. And she kind of feels like she's a burden. Like she even says that. But she's still choosing to continue into the unknown and struggle. Whereas we see Mule going into the idea that there is this big destiny around Griffith. And I think it's just an amazing parallel that Miura is drawing. And it's core to the whole story of Berserk, I think.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Snowy, thank you so much for the 10th spot. I appreciate it. It's very generous of you. Said, I love the trolls design. It felt very different to how they are usually depicted. Yeah, I only got the one panel at the end, but it was enough to get me hyped because I'm here for any type of troll action.
Especially when they're in the hills, because they use their environment to their benefit.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you see coming from this? Like, obviously, I'm representing as like Guts' band representing agency, whereas Griffith is destiny and no agency. I think it's pretty obvious that Griffith is going to be formulating some sort of kingdom and he's going to rule. I think we're going to see more of the God Hand become more manifest.
We gotta have a shootout.
Yeah. Oh, well, certainly.
I mean, there's got to be a shootout. See, I'm just thinking, where does Guts and his band fall in that? Because we know that Griffith has Midland now. Now he's got that army, and he has some of the Kushan. Which actually, there's something I wanted to touch on here. Once we'll circle back to. But is Guts going to go to help the Kushan out? is he gonna? Or here's what I would love to see: is they make it to Pucks, and then the fairies come, and then we have 3 that are gonna fight.
You know what? Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of questions around Elfhelm, actually.
Yeah.
And don't
There
forget,
might not be, but we do love the
there
allure
is.
to it.
Well, and also remember, Skull Knight hasn't been around for a little bit.
Oh shit!
And do you remember when
Bro.
Puck said Skull Knight felt like an elf?
Dude, yes. Oh man, I always forget that. I feel like you always bring that up. I don't know why I always forget that.
Skull Knight's like my favorite side character other than Judo.
Yeah,
like he's just so ridiculous.
He really is,
and just pops up. But
he's so metal.
Yeah, so I'm very well. Yes, we are pro troll.
Sure.
Confirm Fever for sure. Good to see you, Fever. But yeah, I think that Skull Knight has a big part to play in this, as well as, and I'm forgetting the name of the Kushin guy that Guts fought back at that tourney. I always forget his name. Someone help us out in chat.
Throws the rings.
Yeah.
Oh man,
what's his name?
I can never remember it.
Because if you remember, I think he even got like kind of chased off. So I imagine that he's going to.
And he kind of had a little beef with the other Kushan.
That's right.
General, which I mean, Griffith took care of that. I do love too how Griffith literally just rolls up and just like bam, smacks him with a sword, pokes the one guy through the eye, dead. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Next one just slices his head right off.
Oh, dude, whenever when Griffith's army's beating up the Kushan, I think it was Grunbreld or whoever had like 4 people on his sword.
Bro, and then like, dude, when the arrows hit, I felt that hit. Like I felt the connectivity. I'm like, oh man. That's so funny that you said that about. I never realized that, but I love an archer too. Like you saying that is, it might have stemmed from that. I forget what that game was that we used to play that would like set the like we set up the ranks of people, and then you set your archers. It was some demo that we got on like original Xbox.
I don't remember what it was, but it was it sounded like a Total War game or something. But we would set up archers everywhere. Yeah, that was our strategy.
It worked.
So the guy we were thinking about, the Kushin, is, and as many people said, and thank you, chat, we appreciate it, is Silat or Silat, however we want to say it. But I think that this character is going to pop up again. I think it's going to be a big X factor. I think Skull Knight's an X factor. And I'm very, very curious to see when we get to Elfhelm how things play out. Also, let's be honest, Puck is saying how awesome Elfhelm is and how it's going to be great. And there's all these people there. Dude, when they get there, it's going to be wrecked.
There's no way. There's no way. Absolutely no way it's going to be fine.
It's like the scouring of the shower in the Lord of the Rings book. So they're going to get back to the shower and it's going to be burned. Like, there's no way.
Not a chance. If it is, then I'm going to be so surprised.
Yes.
It's not on par, which honestly would also make sense with how Berserk goes. You never expect it, but you expect it. I mean, I do love that give and take. Most of the time, it's the expected, but you get thrown for a loop quite a bit. And it's not a bad loop. Sometimes it's a bad loop, but
I mean, and there's always a different angle to take at it. I mean, even people talking about in the chat whenever they're talking about how Guts getting closer to Griffith, we took it one way, and some people took it a different way. You know, I mean, there's a lot of interpretation here. We're usually wrong, but that's okay.
You'll have that.
Yeah, you'll have that. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I thought this volume was excellent. I love the formation of these two things, and Guts always seeming like such an underdog, while not being 100% White Knight likable, right? Like he has demons, and we're gonna have to see how he gets through it. And I'm so curious at this point what happens with Casca. Like I don't know, because eventually she has to come. I would assume she has to come back into functioning as a person, right?
I mean, you would think. I just don't know. I don't know either, because we thought, and that's where I thought that this whole series was going to go. This section was going to go, is that Casca was going to be back, and then they were going to start building their army in building a new band. Yeah. But we clearly see that didn't happen. But maybe this is just like a foreshadowing for us that's what's going to come. Fingers crossed. Probably won't, but Guts will probably ruin it.
Well, it's also interesting, that obviously the arc name is kind of based a little bit around Star Wars, and everyone's told us that, Miura is a big fan of Star Wars. So I feel like Griffith is forming the Empire, and Guts is not. in the Empire.
Bro, here's my wackadoodle also thing here
Yeah.
as well. Okay, so Sonya can control people's minds, right?
We think.
Well, we think. At least she can at least plant and at least know people's minds.
Okay.
So is Griffith going to use her to take Casca from Guts?
Well, I hope not.
I hope not too.
God damn it. But also, like, where did Sonya come from? Like, who is she?
There's got to be some more to her.
So Sonya and Mule is going to be a tragedy. That's obvious.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be a tragedy. There's no doubt about it. And Mule is going to have to make some sacrifices because everyone makes a sacrifice, it seems, right?
Yeah,
it's a core element to this story is sacrificing for destiny. So we'll kind of see what ends up happening. But we have causality versus agency and free will, and I'm in, man. I'm all the way in, and I need Casca to come back. I need her to come back.
Sorry to say that, but that's what I thought. I hope it doesn't happen.
I hope it doesn't happen either.
I mean, it's gonna go one of two ways. I feel. I guess it's infinitely it could go anyway, but that's the ways. It's gonna go real bad or real good.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's the way she goes, boys. I mean, like that's it.
Yeah. Someone said Sonya is gonna be a slimy character. Great.
Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny though? I wonder if other people hear the voices like we do. Because like soon as probably not.
We're demented.
That's fair. But we're usually on par with what we think with those.
Sometimes.
And sometimes I'm way out in left field. But when Griffith, like when Mule was meeting Griffith, did you take the Kushan being like in the weeds with that like whatever that mask looking dude that was the outcast?
Yeah.
So obviously he said too before, I'm gonna be with you until I wear your head or wear your face or something like that. I thought that they were gonna like kill Griffith.
Well, it certainly alluded to that they were planning an attack there, and then he kind of like said, hold off. And the reason why I didn't pay any attention to this dude is because I figured he was just talking a big game. Like they all think they're badasses until Griffith actually starts flexing, and then it's a wrap, right?
Yeah.
But I did catch on to that. I didn't know what it meant, and I figure I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on
I did too.
On that character. I can't actually remember the name right now.
I can't either. It's something
I'm sure someone will remind us.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of this volume?
So I mean, it was a glimmer, but was the hope of Casca coming back. That was probably my favorite. I know it was immediately ruined.
Followed by
yeah, I know, but like it still was like that was my high point, and it immediately went to the lowest point. But that for me was probably the favorite part. How about you?
Probably the Dead Souls revolving around Griffith, because I felt like it has such a major, it's going to have major implications later. And also the panel was just beautifully drawn. Other than that, I would probably agree with you.
Yeah. No, I think that, and I liked I like Sonya. I mean, I like her being in the story now, just because we haven't had anything like that.
Yeah.
We haven't had any mind control or mind, whatever it is, mind bending, at least being able to read someone else's mind. That's a cool, interesting fact. We haven't had that much lore. I mean, I guess we've had magic and stuff, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem, it seems new and fun. So,
well, it's a new piece, so we got to figure it out, right? Yeah. Like we're gonna get a lot more information around.
We also got to think too about that, like, I forget her name, the little witch girl that was sitting by the tree.
Oh, yes. Course, I can't remember, but yeah, we do need to keep tabs on her. You know, another thing is which I think will obviously be explored here, is that like magic in this world will probably be power, and who holds that power and how do they abuse it, how do they use it, all these type of things. And the fact that Griffith is building an empire means that the empire then has that ability. So in what devious ways can they use that? It's all really interesting stuff that I like to read about. So
when you're saying with the building the empire too, do you think he's just going to go try to take Midland back?
Yeah, it's going to be his kingdom. Yeah, he's going to run the kingdom.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, I didn't know if you were meaning like you thought building something else or just going to taking that, because obviously the king, the kingdom, and he's kind of set it up too because Charlotte's still the rightful heir. She's still in love with him. That's going to be an interesting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
Kay has something here. Kay says, I always thought it was weird that people thought Casca would come back from just being violated by an evil god. If what happened to her was done by regular Griffith, it was bad enough, but what happened? No, yeah, it's not that I just want her to like come back and be, be normal.
No.
But like I hope that, maybe she gains a little bit more of herself back through a recovery period. And that's why, it's not a thing that has to happen like right now. I hope down the line that maybe possibly she has a little bit more say within her own arc. Snowy 50, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
That's very kind of you.
Very nice.
The most enjoyable part of seeing people read new stuff is their reaction to the events unfold and seeing how people react to the story and creating their own theories and perspective, which means sometimes getting things wrong. Yeah, well, we get a lot wrong. But we have fun shooting in the dark. I mean,
it's sure is.
Yes. And Snowy, we appreciate you showing up all the time. I think you've been in every single one of the live streams so far, and really appreciate the super chat. It's very kind of you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and Roxash, hopefully I'm saying that right. Roxash is the kind of weird face guy that we were talking about with the Kushin.
That's right.
And is a wild card. Yeah, and he wants Griffith's head, which is really, really interesting. Patrick had a question for us I wanted to address, and he said, do you guys think Berserk now is weaker compared to Golden Age? There's a small part of the fan base that seems to think so. I do not.
I think it's just different. It's not the accelerator's off, but we're still moving forward. That's the way I think of it.
Well, I also look at it as a whole story, right?
Yeah.
I know they're arcs, so people love ranking things. It's like the thing to do, right? It's just like, oh, my top 10, this, and I get it. It's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, sure.
I do it sometimes, but with something like this, like if you take Golden Age in a bubble, yeah, it's a tragedy, and tragedies are we cannot help as human beings but to just be attached to it, right? Like we are drawn to tragedies. That's why Shakespeare is big and all these other things, but for me, it's more about the fallout of that and the repercussions of that. And in fact, I think the eclipse gets better as we go.
I agree.
So, yeah, I have no issue.
I think too, because do you think that more like a lot of people don't really finish and keep reading past there? So like they just like, oh, that's it. Like that's Berserk for me. I mean, that's what I've gathered from people. Because like a couple people have talked to you about reading it or like that at least know of it. That's what they always talk about. And it's like, dude, it is so much more than just that. I mean, I guess if you just read that, then obviously that's the biggest event and it's a lot. So,
yeah. But I mean, think about how much the eclipse is meant to us as we keep going on and seeing these flashbacks. I mean, even with the things that we saw in this volume gives the eclipse a whole new meaning almost, or at least a refresher in our brains. So yeah, I think it's about the whole story, not just an arc. Yeah. Now, can you favor one piece of a story over the other? Sure. But I like to look at the bigger picture and of what the artist or storyteller or author, whatever, is trying to accomplish. And I think Berserk has a very ambitious goal in exploring causality, and that's not something you do over just one arc. So,
damn it, Jason.
Jason says pronunciations are wrong. Well, what's new, dude? I mean, we mispronounce everything. Also, judo ain't coming back. Well, says you.
That's what I'm saying. I'm still holding out. All these people saying that's exactly what someone would say if judo was coming back. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. That's what they want us to think. Rip judo.
Big rip.
Big rip. Well, I think that covers Berserk Volume 23. I thought it was excellent. I think it had some of the hardest moments to read.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, because I don't think it was as overtly graphic as some of the stuff that we've seen, but the emotional impact of a lot of the stuff that's happened.
And just for him to do it in that little bit is...
Yeah, he just continues to get better.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll be looking forward to seeing what the trolls have for us, and Griffith continue to build his kingdom in volume 24. And we will be back in 2 weeks with that volume review and with our reactions. Andrew, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I think we covered it, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, as always.
Yeah.
Always fun.
And chat, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Someone said, Jason said, judo coming out of the grave, throwing knives every which way.
That's
all I want.
Same.
That's all I want.
Same. For real though. Oh God, man, just thinking about that just warms my soul.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, we appreciate you tuning in here today. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you would love to. If you dislike, you can also hit dislike. But we would love to have you back next episode. And if you want to check out the previous episodes, like I said, they're in a playlist down below in the description. But until we see you next time, be good, be safe. Remember to always
keep turning the page
and struggle on. Struggle.
Yeah.